Good evening, everyone that is here. Welcome to Spiritual Principles of Recovery and everyone that's online tonight. As you can tell, we're set up a little bit different. We're going to have more of a round table discussion on this awesome night before Thanksgiving. But let's go ahead and open it up the way that we always do with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, what we want to talk about tonight is how there is power in living a life of gratitude. And that's just one of those things that you begin to understand that, we say that we get power from a lot of different things, but seriously, it's amazing what God does when we begin to look at things through gratitude. I don't know about anyone else's here, but I know for me, a lot of times I can get a little bit on the negative side. Am I the only one that can do that? Yeah, okay. I'm the only one. That's what I'm being told. I don't think so. But at any rate, so gratitude, it's one of those cornerstones of my recovery. It's like we have different cornerstones. One is my spiritual life, but one of the big ones is gratitude, and I'm sure it is with you guys also. I have to start each day with gratitude. In other words, it directly affects how the rest of my day is going to be. If I don't have gratitude right from get-go, it just starts spiraling. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, another day instead of, man, thank you, God. Thank you, Papa, for opening up the heavens and just pouring your sunshine down. And what a great day it is. And so that's a lot of times what I have to do. But I'm reminded in Psalms 9:1, and it tells us right here, it says, I will praise you, Lord, with all my heart. I will tell of all the marvelous things that you have done. Not I've done, but you've done. Because what happens is, I don't know about anybody else, but if I start taking credit for everything, my gratitude goes right out the door, right? Because I'm too busy being self-centered saying, look at me, look what I've done. And so that's one of those things that I just always have to begin to say, you know what? As soon as I start taking ownership in everything that's working out, I'm in trouble. Because the truth is, when I take an inventory of my life, most every major good thing that ever happened to me, I had very little to do with it. Other than kind of showing up, dress up, show up with some expectation. And that's exactly what we do when we start each day off with that gratitude. But the thing is, just like it's talking about here in Psalms 9:1, it's saying that we give thanks for how much stuff? Everything. Everything. So even if it's not working out like it's supposed to, maybe I need to start having gratitude in the fact that maybe God is doing something for me that I wasn't really willing to do for myself. So how do we show gratitude? It's simple. We do it in declaration. We declare gratitude in our life. We declare that God is who he is, and we begin to declare those things, even the small things. We start getting excited about, hey, I got a parking place today. My old sponsor used to always say, look for the miracle. Because it's always there. Every day God's got a miracle. And all jokes aside, it may be that parking place right in front of the store when it's all booked up, right? And I've seen that kind of thing happen over and over and over again. So when we show gratitude by declaration, what's declaration mean? It means declaring something. So when I begin to start the day off declaring how God has given to me, what Papa has given to me, and do it in gratitude, guess what? Declarations is also an actual power itself, right? If you declare something, then you're putting your foot into it, right? You're saying, I declare this as though it's so, whether it is or isn't. And the more that I'm willing to do that, and the more I'm willing to bring that declaration like Psalms 9:1 is talking about, it's saying, I honor you, not me. I remove the self-centeredness because you're the one that's great. Wow. And if we declare that long enough, guess what begins to happen? We start programming our mindset. And because we hear ourselves doing that, then we eventually get to the point where we actually believe the day's going to be good because I'm going to have gratitude today because of what Papa's done in my life. See, what a power there is in declaration. But as I said before, start with the little things. If you're not sure how to have gratitude, the fact that you drew a breath and got up out of bed, that one right there, that's pretty good. Because if you think about how complicated the respiratory system is in the body and the brain and how it has to work and the heart and everything else, you sit there and start realizing that every breath is a miracle. I'm often reminded that our first breath and our last breath, it says we will declare God. And isn't that funny? Because how do we do it? See, we're already saying Yahweh from the get-go. So carry that throughout your whole life. Every morning get up with that breath of, it's yours. It's your time, not mine. But what I wanted to do is take a quick look before we have our conversation up here at a story of Jonah. Y'all remember Jonah? Happy guy, just the most excited. No, actually he was like the most pessimistic dude that walked the earth at the time, right? And it's kind of like, he wasn't a happy guy. And God says, hey, I need you to trek on down to Nineveh and talk to these people and warn them. He's like, I'm not doing that. And he's like, excuse me? No, this is God. Hello, right? And so eventually we know he ends up, right, trying to run away, and instead he gets thrown overboard. I mean, you talking about pessimistic? How about this one? Well, I know the seas are tossing us back and forth, and we're probably all going to die unless you throw me overboard, because I'm actually the person that has the whole issue here. So we're going to die anyway, so just go ahead and toss me over, and then y'all can live. Right? And then a big old fish gets him. Right? And so I love the fact that I look at Jonah, and when I look in the second chapter, I see so much recovery there. It's unbelievable. And we're going to start with the very first thing. We're going to take it verse by verse in chapter 2. And it's just a few verses. But Jonah 2:6, right? What does it say? It says right here, it says, I sank down to the very roots of the mountains. I was imprisoned in the earth. Anybody else ever felt imprisoned in their addiction? Whoa, man. And it says, whose gates locked shut forever. No hope. Y'all ever felt that? I know when I was out there doing the do, man, that's exactly how I felt. But you, O Lord, I got nothing else, snatched me from the jaws of death. Man, that's exactly what happened. There's no reason why I should have ever got sober, especially at the age that I did. And so what I began to realize was that God's mercy and grace, that's what I need to be grateful for, literally snatched me out of that. So that was my life before recovery. But let's go to Jonah 2:7, and it says, as my life was slipping away, I remembered the Lord, and my earnest prayer went out to you in your holy temple. I think about that, and I think to myself, I felt so far away. I was so far away that I just couldn't see it. And so it was like I was reaching out for anything. And that's when we that's when we try to do the third step, right? And what does the third step say? It says what? Come on, guys, help me out. Made a decision. Turn my will and my life over to the what? To the care of God. Not over to God, to the care of God. And y'all understand that. So that verse shows me, that's what that reminds me of. It's like, man, I had nowhere else to go. So I grabbed hold of the third step, and that's all I had, right? And it was just an attempt. But what the amazing thing is, when I made that attempt, I made it with gratitude. It was like, yeah, God, I don't, maybe it's not going to work out, but I'm just going to trust you. I'm going to take a shot at this. And he never failed. So I got gratitude today because he never failed. What an amazing thing. And then it goes forward, and it talks about in Jonah 2:8, right? And this was when I was still trying the old behaviors, right? I was still stuck in my old behaviors. Y'all remember that? It's kind of like, and maybe you're there now, right? And so what did I do? Well, let's look at page 58 of the big book. And it says, Oh, hang on. Let's start with this. Those who worship false gods turn their backs on all of God's mercies. To me, that worshiping false gods is living in the old way of life. It's just living in the old way of life. And I can't continue to do that. And I have to remember that I got to stop, even if it's the smallest thing. Just stop doing something. Man, I was told, try to do something different every day in your life. And still to this day, I drive one way and drive another way back. I want changes. I know that sounds crazy, but any small change makes a change, right? And so, at any rate, that's what we have to do. And so we're going to take a look here at page 58, because what it talks about, there it is. It says that some of these we what? Balked. And what is it talking about? We balked at what? We balked at following the path of those who did it. And how did they do it? In gratitude. So check this out. We thought we could find I love this, an easier, softer way. I'm always trying to find an easier, softer way, or at least I used to, because one day what I started realizing was the easier, softer way is actually so much harder, right? It's like the more shortcuts I seem to make, the more issues come up in my life. Sometimes it's just easier to go a straight line, you know? But it says, with all earnest at our command, we beg of you to be what? Fearless and thorough from the very start. In other words, I can't sit there and tell myself, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. Fearless means what? It means without fear. Sometimes we have to do this without fear. Oh, okay, great. And then it says after that, some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas. Isn't that what we just talked about? And the result was what? Nil, which means what? Ain't happening, done deal, nada, right? And then it says nil until we what? Let go absolutely. How can you let go if you have fear and no gratitude? See, if you have gratitude that God's going to work it out, then you have no fear, because there's no reason to have it anymore. But it keeps going on, and it talks about what? That's why we have to work, or let step 6 work us. What is step 6? Go ahead. Well, that's pretty good. I was hanging there for a second, but yeah, we have step 1. Nope, that's good. Step 6. At any rate, we're going to get up there, and it's going to be fine. But what is the concept behind letting that step work us? What is it, guys? It's the fact that we have to get comfortable with the fact we can't get rid of our character defects. Does that remind anybody of step 6? Okay, I was trying to throw that out there. So when we get ready to have God totally remove our character defects from our life, and we get to that point, then what begins to happen is the only way to have that is gratitude. See, it's interesting. The way that I stopped lying was getting honest. And after you tell somebody a few times what I just told you is a lie, you don't feel a lot of gratitude at the moment, but later on you get gratitude about the fact that I was willing to put an action behind it, and God removed it from me. So Jonah 2:9 tells us, but I will sacrifice to you with the voice of thanksgiving, which is also known as gratitude. Thank you. I will pay what I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. When we did a 9th step, did you go to somebody? This is how I was taught to do it. I apologize for what I did. So I took responsibility, right? I hope you will be able to forgive me. If I ever do that again, would you be willing to hold me responsible? And this is my plan on how to pay you back. You see, when you go in there with that, then all of a sudden all that bondage breaks off of you, and life begins to change. But one of the things I realized was having gratitude, even in that, Now that's hard, right? We go to somebody. I'm gonna tell you something. Step 4, step 5, that's complicated. It's tough. Whatever. We think it's gonna be the end of the world, right? Because I gotta expose myself. But it ain't nothing like 8 and 9. Am I wrong? 8 and 9 is. But here's the funny thing. 8 and 9. The 9th step ain't tough when it comes to finances. It feels like it is, but it seems like God always comes through. I don't know if you noticed that. It just also my self-centeredness comes through too. Ooh, I got a bonus at work. And then I had that little voice go, well, you know, it's about the same amount of money you owe Joe over there. Oh, no. No, I got a new, it's a down payment on a new motorcycle. But you owe Joe that money over there. And then you do it and you get through it and you go. Now, come on, let's be honest. What's the first thing we hope Joe does when we go, oh, don't worry about it, man. You keep it. Woo! You know how many times that happens? A lot less than you think it does, because you hear stories about it. You go, that's going to be me. No, it ain't. Right? And the one person that did that to me, my sponsor turned around and said, well, hallelujah, man. Sounds to me like you're going to be able to give some charity some money. Well, yeah. So I got grateful about it, sort of. But what it's saying there that's really says, I will pay what I have vowed. How about this one? I will sponsor those that I need to sponsor. When someone needs the hand of recovery, I'll be the first one to reach out. Those are vows. But what else is big about vows in this program, right? I'm grateful today that when I give you my word, most of the time, I'm going to be there, right? Because, see, part of gratitude is also integrity. Let your yeses be maybe, no. Let your yeses be yes, and your no's be no, I don't know. No, it means no, correct? So part of what I'm grateful about today is that I don't have to tell you something and not care about it. I'm grateful that if I say I'll be there, I will do my best to hold that agreement, right? So at any rate, my favorite part of the whole thing is Jonah 10, and this is where we're going to end it. But here it goes. So the Lord spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto the dry land. What does that mean? Jonah never asked. God did for him even before he asked, will you get me out of the fish? It's almost a surprise because the way he's talking is like things are already happening. He's already getting a little bit of gratitude. He's already going back and saying, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done this. And even before he can get through, just practicing gratitude, all of a sudden, literally, God moves on his behalf. That's the power of gratitude. Begin to live with that gratitude in everything, and you will be surprised at the blessings that Papa God will put on you. Because you got to understand, he's a father. He wants to give. Just put him in a position to do that. Thank him already before it's even done. Lord, I know, Papa, you're going to handle this. I know you're going to handle this. So I'm good with it, however it happens. Oh, believe me, the first few times you do that, you go, whatever happens, oh my God, I hope it happens right. But eventually what you start doing, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is we're going to talk about what happens when it doesn't come through just like you wanted it. So at any rate, you guys know, the guys that are here, you know, Scott and Susan. And so I wanted to get their input on gratitude today, right? And so we have a little bit of a weird deal here is that, well, you had a couple of legal drinks. We didn't, right? So we got sober even before. I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful I didn't have to go, pay the price that a lot of people did, right? But, you know, so that. And I was sitting here, and afterwards I started thinking about it. I'm like, Lord Jesus, we've been sober a minute, about 40 years plus, coming up on it. And you got 36. No, I'm joking. It's an inside joke. So at any rate, so what I want to do is I just want to kind of throw this out there and get you guys' input. How important is gratitude to you today?
Thank you, Paul. As you were sharing, I was thinking that Jonah and I have a lot in common. As a child, I waited for the other shoe to drop. It's always something bad's going to happen, and it's going to happen to me. And I lived that way so long that, the big book also talks about our alcoholic life had become the only normal one. That was my normal life. I drank the way I drank. I thought everybody drank the way I did. I thought everybody around me felt this anxiety that I had in my world on that moment-to-moment basis of just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And then I get into recovery, and I hear this word gratitude, and I thought, well, I'm grateful to be sober. For the past 39 years, there's barely been a day go by that my first two sentences out of my mouth or out of my head, my heart, my mouth, whatever, however I'm praying that morning is thank you, God, for my sobriety and for my many blessings. I start my day out with that quick reminder of who and what I am and that I'm blessed. And then I say my prayers from there. Gratitude for me was a deliberate action. It is not something that I bring to the table naturally, and it was given to me like this. When you go turn that air conditioner down or up, if you make the house hot or cold or whatever, say thank you that I have the ability to make it hotter or colder. When you go to that refrigerator and open up and there's food in there, have a gratitude prayer. And that's literally where I started. And he said, and leave it at that. Not that the refrigerator is going to be empty soon if we don't put more groceries in it, because that's what my brain says. Air conditioner's probably going to break, all the things. Just leave it there. So I had like a little twofold challenge, and I have practiced that. Still do it today. But I had to just do what my sponsor said. I had no idea what the feeling of gratitude actually felt like. Today, a little while later, people around me, it's quite frustrating for them because they call me the eternal optimist. I can find the good in anything, and that's because of a grateful heart. And like Paul shared, and one of your questions is, grateful for the things that didn't work out. I had a tournament. I used to fish a lot of tournaments, and my friend Shane changed my day. We were on Hartwell one time, and I was struggling to find these fish, and I couldn't find them, and I was getting a little upset. And he looked at me, and he said, hey, buddy, at least now we know where they aren't. I was like, wow. I was like, I get it. So sometimes when things don't work out, I actually have a gratitude in my heart of it wasn't meant to be right now. And that same man also said, God has three answers for me, and he's not in recovery. He said it's yes, no, or not right now. And the not right now part was one that I'd never thought of. I was used to yes or no, but not right now. And that was a little bit of a segue into that, moment to moment. I think of my life on moment to moment basis, not on foxhole prayers. So that's what my day to day looks like.
And how about you?
I love what Scott was saying about gratitude. For me is very intentional. I would love to wake up and be Pollyanna, and sometimes I am, but that has more to do with not looking at reality. But it is very intentional on looking around. I'm grateful, the little things, the parking places. When I had, my kids were little, I'm so grateful that they have the energy to run around and scream. The things that would make me crazy normally, I could turn around and find the good in it. And I'm very grateful for the unanswered, they are unanswered prayers. The answers are wait, no, and things like that. Because if I'd gotten all the things I thought I wanted, even from the beginning, people I wanted to be with or the way I wanted my family to look, I would have sold myself short and what I've learned through this whole process, one, it is a continuous process. Paul was talking about having multiple years, and I thought at some point the growing would stop. But it continues to happen, and that gives me gratitude. I'm grateful. I don't want to be frozen in time. I want to continue to grow, and I've grown more in the last couple of years than I ever thought possible. I've had things that happened in my life that I won't say I am grateful. I'm grateful because I can see the results of it. I've lost a partner a couple of years ago. It's not something I would have wanted, but I've seen amazing things come from that. And so I am grateful for God's big plan and that I don't have to know it. I think that's it.
You're right on with that. I never, by the way, knew you woke up Pollyanna. I thought you were always Susan. But at any rate, you're shortly, yeah. You know, you guys, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, it's like when we don't have gratitude, because let me throw this in there. Let me give you, fast forward to the end of the story in Jonah, right? Jonah picks up a resentment, takes him totally out of gratitude, and about the third time that he goes, God, just kill me. He lays down and he dies. How about that, you know? So God's going to do for us what we can't do for ourselves as long as we stay grateful. But he also will honor us. He loves us enough to honor him. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting that happened. I was thinking about one of my sponsors. He called me up yesterday, and he was really upset because his Mercedes had broke down. And the only thing I could think of was, does that mean you're going to have to take your other one to work? Right? The level of the problems that we have today, right? And it's like, and we sit there and we go, wow, the gratitude got us to that point. Why aren't we grateful even when something stops working? It's just a temporary basis. God's got a bigger plan than that. So you guys brought it up, and it's where I wanted to kind of go and segment to. It's two things. Is how did you learn? How did you learn that there was power in gratitude, right? I mean, I know for me there was an actual turning point. I remember literally losing everything. I mean, fair warning, guys. There are a lot of times there are bottoms in this program too. And quite frankly, my bottom in recovery was far greater than my bottom when I came into recovery, right? But I lost everything in about 72 hours. The point is I actually got somewhat grateful for it. And I watched things begin to work out. I didn't get some restoration like overnight, but what I did do is get a difference in attitude. And I thought about that, and here's the second part of that is have you ever been grateful for a prayer that didn't work out? Can you give me an example on that one?
Thank you, Paul. I remember back in 2008 when I lost, I was one of those small businesses that lost everything. I lost 4 vehicles, 2 boats, 5 acres, a house. I lost it all, and my business partner looked across the desk one time and he said, man, you realize we're broke, right? I said, I do. He said, you seem like you don't care. I said, man, I care. I'm just grateful to have had what we had. I'm more curious about what the future holds. And I sat there with this neutrality, like our book talks about. And I was even a little bit amazed myself, right? Because I'm looking at a board that, like you said, about 3 days prior was slam full of jobs, and it had slowly gone away. And we had one little tiny tile backsplash to put in. And that board usually supported about 5 tile crews. And I was like, I almost waited for the fear and the panic to come, but I couldn't override the feeling of, thank you, God, for giving me my skills, giving me this great business, this opportunity to work with some really good people. So the attitude of gratitude is a real deal, right? Sometimes it even comes in when I'm trying to push it out. I could give a whole lot of examples of unanswered prayers. I remember one of them, I was going through a lot of anxiety, probably the most important one. I was going through a lot of anxiety when I had about 5 or 6 years in recovery, and I had a landscape business at the time, and I just prayed for more business, and it wouldn't come no matter how much I tried. I could not make anything other than me and one guy and one truck and one landscape trailer. I could not get out of that, and I was getting a little frustrated. And looking back, if I had have gotten what I wanted, I don't know that I would. I'm just going to leave it at this. I don't know that I would have made it out of that anxiety and that dark depression that I went into. If I had any more responsibility on me other than working for myself, I don't know that I would have made it out. And that's about an hour-long story, so y'all can just kind of fill in the blanks on that one. But that's my biggest one. When you said that, that was the very first thing came to my head. I'm glad he didn't give me what I wanted, because I don't know that I'd have made it out of that one. And that was a dark time in my life, and like, okay, you got it, you know. So.
I forgot the first half of it. What is it?
How'd you learn about the power of gratitude?
I learned about the power of gratitude from going through the process of learning how to be grateful. Going through my, praying, can I keep this, and this? These are the things I need in my life. And again, I went through a period of slowly losing, one by one, a lot of those things. And it was this is what I think I need, and then it would end up going away, selling it, whatever else, and going through the process of I need to have this to coming around, and I'm doing just fine without it. And that list of things that I thought I had to have, and a lot of them had claw marks on them when they were leaving. Yeah, and it's not like I just woke up and said, "Oh, just take them." I mean, there were claw marks because I knew this is what was going to be good for me, and I didn't know. The other thing goes right along with that, for me, finances, and I was I kept praying for a resolution to something, dealing with my family, and I wanted it now. I wanted it right now. And it's something that took years to finally come to a resolution. If it had worked out the way that I had, I didn't have the skills to deal with it, to deal with what the resolution was. I would have lost everything. And what I realized is that there is a reason that the answer can be wait. I would have done everything wrong, and I wasn't mature enough, or I wasn't even aware enough that I didn't know. I think that's some of it is you don't know what you don't know, and so that's probably the most recent. The big one is I am grateful that I didn't get what I wanted when I wanted it.
Well, it's funny. You reminded me of one I totally forgot. See, one of the things that you have to come to the realization of is there may be more than one bottom. But I remember, literally in 2008, that's what made me think about it, was the business consultant comes in and, you're paying these guys or hoping to pay these guys to give you some great, right, knowledge. And the dude comes in and goes, "You're bankrupt. You're done." And he wasn't in the program. He wasn't in recovery. And all I could think of was, and I remember this because they had turned my water off. The electricity was going to be turned off, I think, in like a week or something. And all I could think of was the old attitude of gratitude, right? And I said, the phones are on. I have food in the freezer, and the ovens still work. I'm okay. And I started thinking about that, and I'm like, I'm going to be okay. And literally, when I started practicing that gratitude is, I'm going to be okay. And I sat there and thought, we're going to be okay. Then I had somebody who called up, and the interesting thing is when they called up, my wife had taken one of these HR little mini courses, right? And she didn't hear it the same way that they meant it. And the law says that you have to take every application, right? She heard it as you had to take the application and interview everybody. And sure enough, somebody calls up and goes, "I'd like to get a job." And I'm thinking, well, cool, because we're about to lose everybody here. We're going to need somebody, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm looking, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, God, this is going to work. Don't know how, but it's going to work. Turned out that she was somebody, she wanted a sales position, and brought that day a group of people that was a $650,000 a year contract for 9 years. See, God can change it like that when you have that attitude of gratitude. It changes everything, but I thought about that, and I thought, man, I'm going to ask you guys, how many times, right, looking back, have you been grateful that a two-legged higher power didn't work out, right? I think back on it right now, and it's like, I wouldn't have my kids, and I certainly wouldn't have my grandkids. I'm doing Thanksgiving tomorrow, right? We're doing a family thing. 62 people. Family kind of big. Wouldn't have happened in my life if God had said, yeah, go ahead, sure. You can hook up with Cray Cray and spend the rest of your life, right? And I'm like, because I got the papers to prove it. But the point is that we have the opportunity to be so seated into gratitude, making that such a part of our life that it becomes a defense against resentment. See, if you become grateful for the things that happen, Lord, I don't know what. Look, Papa, you're going to show me something in this. I'm going to learn something. I may not like it right now, but I promise you the stuff that I laid down and let go of, I got better, much better. I'm sure you guys felt the same way. You ended up getting in a much better situation, we just saw one of those blessings walk right up here that wouldn't have happened if you'd gotten the way always that you wanted, right? So that's what I'm saying. So God does for us what we can't do for ourselves as long as we're grateful. Just remember, he's always wanting to do for you. He doesn't want to come against you. If you don't believe that attitude of gratitude works, try it for 90 days, and if it doesn't work out for you, we'll refund all your misery. 100% guarantee, right? But that's not the way we're going to live. So I'm grateful today to have this opportunity to spend this time with you guys and spend this time with you guys and you guys. I'm grateful for that and for the opportunity that I've had for a while to be able to continue to do this. So with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a night, and hey, let's take it out the way we always do. So who is it that we really get our attitude of gratitude from? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us away from temptation. Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen.